Great, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast and good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. I recognize that SNN's conference is more of a generalist conference and there's many different industries presenting. So I'm going to really focus on a high-level overview of the company. I'm happy to answer any Q&A, and of course, our company is always happy to hear from investors and shareholders, so please feel free to reach out to us either directly on the phone or through email. Please take note that I will be making forward-looking statements as it is difficult to explain the exploration business without doing so. So to start off with, a high-level review of what is it that an exploration company does. So our vision and path has been to establish strategic land packages in world-class mining districts. And what does that mean? We look for well-established mining hubs that have proven infrastructure and world-class systems that are being mined and that have local workforces and communities that support those areas. So we've found just that place in Eastern Europe, in Serbia, in a community called Timok. And that's very similar to any of you that are calling in from Canada. That's very similar to what we see in Sudbury. 100 years of mining, strong community support, and world-class assets. So we've established that land package in the Timok district, and I'll walk you through that a little bit later in the presentation. We also focus on the partner model. We recognize that to get world-class assets into production, you need very large amounts of capital, and as a result, partnerships right from the get-go really remove any financial risk in advancing these kind of assets. So we have partnered with various senior mining companies, as well as JOGMEC, which is the government agency for the Japanese government to invest in copper assets globally. We focus specifically on copper and gold. I actually used to be an analyst, an equity research analyst, as well as an investment banker, and the two commodities that we feel very strongly have very good potential in front of them are copper and gold. Obviously, gold is really treated more as a currency in the marketplace, and copper is firmly a commodity that is in high demand and not readily able to be replaced, and certainly an extremely important component in the future, and as we talk about electrification of vehicles and other industries. Now, we have an experienced team that runs these assets. We have built the team around the projects. So our boots on the ground have probably seen the most amount of ground in this district. And then we complement that team with international consultants, so consultants in geophysics that are specialists in these type of systems, as well as structural interpretation, core logging, and looking at things like evaluation of geochemistry. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit later. Now, we have very strong fiscal discipline, and basically what that means is we have a very strict criteria of how we invest in our assets and how we leverage our capital with our partners' capital in order to generate a return for our shareholders. When we also do make strategic investments in other businesses that are similar to ours where we can leverage the underlying commodity asset. Now, to give you a sense of what that means financially, what you see here with these blue bars is the investment that goes into the projects. The dark blue is partner funding, and the light blue is our own capital. And you can see that this has been growing successfully over the last 4 years, and we see that continuing going forward. And basically what that does, when you look at the orange bars below the zero line, that's our corporate expenses. And very quickly, we expect to be in a cash flow neutral position in order to really only be investing in our assets, meaning that we wouldn't be going out to the public markets to raise capital for corporate expenses, but more so for investing in new projects. In terms of the business model, how do we make it all work and how does it happen? We put together a land package. As I explained, it's in established mineral camps. We partner those projects with different groups, and then we really operate those projects for them. Part of the discovery phase, which is, in the business, I've been in business for many, many years, well over 20, and the biggest value creation is at that discovery phase. It's also the highest risk, but if you can manage the risk and really leverage partner capital, it can be a very important catalyst for value creation for shareholders in this business model. We do monetize all of our investments, and we monetize them in various ways. We look at NSR royalty, streams is a second option. We also collect operator fees for managing the programs, advanced royalty payments, milestone payments. Sometimes we may be carried to commercial production in certain assets, or of course we can do outright sales. So what does that look like from a capital perspective? About 55 to 60% of our shareholder base is institutions. They are really the foundation of our capital raising. Many of these shareholders have been investors with us since 2012 when we started the focus in Eastern Europe, and then we have about 40% in retail. And as you can see, our share price tends to trade in the current marketplace around 15 to 20 cents, and we believe that it has the ability to obviously increase based off the current portfolio. We have about 81 million shares outstanding, and we've been public for well over 15 years. And that is truly, I think, a testament to the business model that we really do maintain dilution. We have about 2.4 million in cash, and that cash is primarily used for investing in acquiring new assets in the company. When you look at the exploration industry, it's important to understand where equities sit in the value spectrum. And certainly in today's marketplace, you can clearly see that there is a delineation between generators, royalty and streaming companies, and the traditional explorers that have made a discovery or bought a project and are expanding the resource. What we've seen is that once companies can demonstrate a cash flow or a revenue of about $1 million from their assets, they tend to trade at around 100 million market cap and greater. And that is certainly what we've seen in the marketplace today. And what we believe is that Mundoro's valuation can relatively rise as we demonstrate more incoming revenue from each of these assets. Now, why are we here in the Tethyan belt? This is one of the most important mineral belts on the globe. It runs right from Central Europe into Southeast Asia. Although there are many parts of this belt that are difficult to operate in, we've really honed in on the western portion, which is in Eastern Europe, in two primary jurisdictions. And before I get off this slide, one thing to note here is the importance of demonstrating how that one road, one belt strategy of China really does parallel this belt. And it was basically a testament to the fact that there will be a lot more investment along this region for infrastructure, which is a key catalyst for getting assets from that exploration into development and construction phase. Now, what's really exciting about the western portion is that we're in Europe, and Europe has very good mineral laws. Both Serbia and Bulgaria have harmonized their laws with the Union, and what you see is very well-established rights for companies that explore, then develop, and then go into construction and production. And there's a very good proven path of how that can happen in this part of the world in these two jurisdictions. So we've focused in on two primary areas. One is Timok in eastern Serbia that I brought to your attention a little earlier. And then as we travel along the southeast corridor into Bulgaria, the next important mining district in this region is called Panagorishta, where there's also a series of operating mines. Now, one of the things that is important to understand on our portfolio approach is that there's various stages of projects in our portfolio. We have everything right from the bottom right, which is applications. Then we have projects that we're currently in discussions with partners. We already have agreements in place on some of the projects. And of course, we're already generating payments from a number of projects. So as we move forward, I think I want to bring to your attention at this point, what is it like to operate in this region? This is a graphic, a picture of Boer Town. You know, it's for any of you on the call that have been to Sudbury. This kind of is likened to Sudbury back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. It's a welcoming community that has lived with these mines for a very long time and understands the value that can be brought from mineral development and mining when there is a good supportive government and good supportive communities. So where specifically are we focused on? It's here in the Timok region. Why are we here? Again, the historical mining here has been going on for 100 years. That's a really important factor because it does two things. It shows you that there is an ability for this volcanic complex to basically host really large-scale systems that can be mined for a very long time. And second, it has a lot of infrastructure that has already been spent over those many, many decades. And as a result, any new exploration, any new project that comes through development into construction and ultimately production, it has the benefit of all of that historical expenditure on infrastructure. So roads exist, smelters, rail lines that connect directly to ports. And of course, the cost of energy is very attractive in this part of the world, as it's about 5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is very much an attractive rate compared to North America. Now, our operations, you know, we do a lot of drilling in this region for our partners. And one of the things that's important in our type of business is to be as close as possible to where the existing structures are. It's important in porphyry exploration, as porphyries tend to occur in clusters, to be as close as possible to that main structural feature in order to determine if more clustering has occurred around it and if there is an opportunity for more of these types of systems to be discovered. And so that 5 and 10 kilometer radius around the main system is kind of the rule of thumb in the business. And one of the things that you can see from this graphic is that clearly our license area, which falls this lightly green shaded area you can see here, that's around target number 1. That falls very firmly within that 5 kilometer radius and certainly within the 10. And we also have the license area to the east, which is currently optioned out to Vale. Now, one of the important things that we do, and we have done very successfully, is really to ensure that we're getting the maximum utility of the data. It's not helpful to anyone to drill a bunch of holes and not be able to really maximize their value. So we digitize all of our information. We've put in geological understanding. And in the background there, you can see the Chukatopeki deposit. Obviously, it's a deeper system, but you can see the potential of this district, that it has the ability to find really large-scale systems. So we believe with further deeper drilling in this area, there may be an opportunity to make another discovery in the Timok region in the central area. Now, the next slide, I'm going to move into talking about the Vale projects. This is an area that we have recently started working in. It basically shows you that there's a really good field season. You can operate for most of the year, and it basically allows us to operate for about 10 to 12 months out of the year. Now, what's important here, and just to bring to your attention, in the center of the Bohr mine complex, that's what we were looking at a little bit earlier, and here you can see our license areas are identified in red. That's our joint venture license with the Japanese government. The license is colored in gold. Those are the 4 licenses we have optioned to Vale, and we're very excited to have announced that we are starting to work in this area, and we're looking forward to be able to drill test by the end of the year. And then we have discussions ongoing with third parties for the area that's shown in the blue colors at the bottom, and that's something that we think will be an important catalyst of value over the next few months. In terms of the area that we are in discussions with, what's really exciting about it is all the alteration that's on surface. alteration is an indication of where potential porphyry and epithermal systems exist. And as a result, you really want to focus in on exploring those areas. We did have Freeport-McMoRan as our partner last year. They spent about $3.2 million here. And unfortunately, due to the copper price squeeze in the first quarter, they had to leave these assets, which is unfortunate, but was a great opportunity for Mundoro as we got them back 100%. And now we are well underway in optioning them out to a new mining company, and we think that's going to be very valuable for our shareholders. To give you a sense of what kind of work was done there, you can again see the digitization of data, some of the drill testing that was done, and you can see all the clear space that clearly still needs to be tested. As we move on from there, we're going to go to the northern end of our license area in the Timok region. Again, another really interesting project area that is just north of the Midempek mine. It's got very interesting geochemistry for copper and gold. We have a couple of systems that have already been identified at the southern end of the license, and you can see here how we've modeled those out. Those come right to surface, and clearly some more drilling here may be able to establish a deposit in this area. One of the things that I also want to bring your attention to is the fact that, there is another region in this belt. So we've been talking about the Timok region in Serbia, and now as we move towards the southeast, what I'm showing you here on the slide is that next mining district, which is called Panagurishta in Bulgaria. So this is an area that's interesting. There are existing open pit mines that are in production for copper and gold, as well as the very well-known Chelopech mine, which is currently owned by Dundee Precious Metals. It's an underground, higher-grade mine that has won many awards for being one of the best-run operations in this district. And here to the southeast, you'll see a license area that is outlined in red. This is an area that we want to tender for. We're very excited about being able to work here, and we're looking forward to signing a contract with the government in order to be able to invest in this region. One of the things that we're excited about here is that there is an old mine that had produced about 6 million tons of 1% copper and 3 grams per ton gold, and you'll see that that's very similar grade to what Chelopech has in their reserves. And so what really is an important catalyst, again, for the company in terms of value is to be able to drill test that and demonstrate whether those resources are still intact. One of the things that's very important to us, ever since we've been, a public company for the last 15 years, is our approach to dealing with communities and with governments. We are very transparent. We want there to be a win-win situation. We invest in the local communities where we operate, and we've been doing that for many years. Our team is all local, which is, again, generates local employment, and it keeps that mineral knowledge and wealth within the nations. And then we use our international consultants to add to that value. So this is something that we've been doing for many years, and we think, frankly, is an important part of the mineral business. And we're glad to see that the marketplace is talking more about the environmental, social, and governance practices of companies. Here you'll see our board. Our board of directors is a small board. Everyone has a very important role, and of course our senior team leads the day-to-day exploration of these assets in order to develop a discovery for our shareholders. On the right-hand side, you'll see our facility, the size of the team, and that, again, is testament to the fact that there really isn't another exploration team that has done as much exploration and walked over as much ground and seen as many projects as we have as a result of our partner model and our constant generative model in the region. So with that, I would love to answer any questions, and if they're not, by all means, please feel free to contact us anytime. We do use social media. We try and update the markets on what we do week to week. That's a great way to follow us, both on LinkedIn and Twitter. And of course, we're always happy to answer shareholder and investor calls. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to the organizer.